Welcome to Void Realities, a place where the restless mind can drift and sleepless hours become a quiet journey. Tonight, we open the pages of forgotten history, stories whispered across deserts, seas, and silent villages. Moments when strange lights appeared and memories were left trembling between wonder and fear. This is Rare and Forgotten Alien Encounters. Episode 8. Not for belief or disbelief, but for the comfort of wandering thoughts that help your body release the day. So let the mystery be your lullaby, and allow the silence between questions to carry you gently into sleep. Rare and Forgotten Alien Encounters, Episode 8. You lie back beneath the quiet of the night, your breath soft, your body heavy against the stillness. Above you stretches a canvas so wide, so unbroken, that even the longest life could not measure it. The stars scatter across it like delicate grains of light, each one older than memory, older than language. And yet, hidden among those familiar pinpricks are stories nearly erased. Stories of the sky behaving in ways that do not fit the patterns you expect. These are whispers, fragments of rare encounters, moments when people looked upward and felt something unusual pressing against their sense of reality. Science begins with observation. Every great discovery, every careful theory, starts when someone notices something that does not quite fit. Imagine early astronomers watching patiently, charting the paths of planets, and realizing that some movements resisted prediction. From these small puzzles grew great revolutions in thought. In the same way, forgotten accounts of lights, objects, or shapes in the sky often begin as simple moments of noticing. A farmer pauses in his field. A traveler stops on a mountain road. A child looks out a window on a still evening. The memory begins with a glimpse, a flicker, something that does not belong to the usual rhythm of stars. You feel yourself sink further into calmness as you imagine the night sky as a library, every light a book. Most books you can read easily, the phases of the moon, the steady rising of constellations. But sometimes a page shifts, as though another hand has turned it, leaving behind a note, a mark, a question. These rare and quiet anomalies become part of human history, though not always preserved in textbooks or museums. Instead, they linger as forgotten testimonies, as small notes in newspapers, as fading recollections in someone's diary. Consider how memory itself works. Your brain does not record reality like a camera. Instead, it weaves impressions into a story that makes sense. When something unusual happens, especially in the night sky, memory can become slippery, blurring edges, softening details. A strange light may be remembered as brighter or dimmer, closer or farther than it truly was. Yet within these imperfect recollections lies a seed of curiosity. That curiosity is what science grows from again and again. Astronomers call some unexplained sightings transient luminous events. Flashes of light in the upper atmosphere, shaped by electrical storms and charged particles. Others are comets, meteors, or fragments of ice glowing as they fall into air thick with resistance. These explanations ground you in the steady hands of science, reminding you that even the mysterious often has roots in natural law. But sometimes, even after all known explanations are weighed, something remains. A gap, a silence, a whisper that will not be silenced. The forgotten sky is full of these whispers. In the 19th century, observers sometimes reported lights that darted faster than any star should move. In isolated regions, shepherds or villagers described disks of light that hovered low, then vanished without trace. Most of these accounts were left aside, overshadowed by greater stories of war, invention, and progress. And yet, if you pause here, you can imagine them, tiny fragments of wonder, shimmering like stars that only appear for one night. Your breathing deepens as you let these forgotten moments settle. You realize that the night sky is not static, not fixed. It is alive with change. Stars born in nebulae, stars dying in silence, galaxies drifting apart. The universe is a place of constant transformation. Perhaps that is why humans are so quick to notice any irregularity. Because deep down, you are part of this changing cosmos, sensitive to its shifts and tremors. Think of the way sound echoes in a vast cathedral. A single whisper can travel far, reaching places it was never meant to go. The same is true for the stories of the forgotten sky. Even if they are small, even if they are doubtful, they carry echoes that inspire new eyes to watch, new instruments to record, new questions to be asked. Science thrives on these questions, treating even uncertainty as a path toward deeper knowing. As you drift in this calm reflection, you notice how the forgotten is never truly lost. Just as faint starlight can travel for billions of years before reaching your eyes, so too can a forgotten story reach across decades to stir your imagination tonight. Each forgotten encounter becomes a quiet star in your own sky of thought, shining gently, neither demanding belief nor dismissal, but simply inviting you to wonder. And so you rest here, in the quiet balance between certainty and mystery, between what is known and what is almost lost. You feel the calmness of the night settle into your body, steady and sure. Yet a question lingers softly, like a star refusing to fade. What if the next whisper comes not from above, but from the silent horizon of the desert? The desert at night is unlike any other place. You feel it first as stillness, the kind of silence so deep it presses against your ears. Sand stretches endlessly, reflecting faint starlight, while shadows lie undisturbed for miles. In this emptiness, every flicker of light, every movement above the horizon feels amplified, impossible to ignore. The desert is a stage where the sky performs in complete quiet, and it is here, again and again, that rare stories of unexplained lights have been born. You picture yourself lying on the cool surface of the sand, the air crisp and thin. Above you, the stars appear sharper than they do in crowded cities, untouched by the glow of human lamps. The Milky Way arches like a luminous river, flowing from one end of the horizon to the other. Yet, within this familiar sea of stars, something unusual begins. A glow that does not belong, a pulse that feels both near and far. It hovers, shifts, and lingers where no ordinary star should remain. Science tells you that deserts are among the best places for stargazing because of their dry air and lack of light pollution. Astronomers often travel to high, arid regions to build observatories. With no moisture to scatter the starlight, the view is pure, nearly untouched. But this purity also means that anything unusual, whether natural or not, stands out all the more. A faint meteor streaks across the sky, glowing briefly before burning into silence. But what about the lights that last longer? The ones that move strangely, stop suddenly, or vanish as if swallowed by the air? Witnesses have long described such lights. In places like New Mexico, Arizona, and Nevada, stories of luminous orbs floating silently above the desert floor have been whispered for decades. Some accounts tell of lights that seem to dance in pairs, weaving around each other like careful partners. Others speak of glowing forms that hover low to the ground before rising slowly into the upper darkness. Unlike airplanes or satellites, these lights make no sound, no engine hum, no trail of exhaust. Only the stillness of the desert holds them. Your mind relaxes into the rhythm of these descriptions. You imagine the psychological impact of standing alone in such a place. When the desert is so quiet that you can hear your own heartbeat, the sudden appearance of light in the sky can feel like a message. Neuroscience teaches you that your brain is wired to seek meaning in patterns. You search for explanations, a star, a meteor, a reflection, perhaps a plane. Yet when the light moves against expectation, pausing, pulsing, then vanishing, the brain holds on to the question rather than the answer. Many of these lights have scientific roots. The desert is home to unusual atmospheric conditions. Temperature differences between hot sand and cooler air above can create shimmering effects, much like a mirage on a highway. Electrical discharges, sometimes called ball lightning, can appear as glowing spheres drifting silently through space. And meteors entering the atmosphere at shallow angles can seem to glide unusually long before breaking apart. Each of these explanations provides comfort, grounding the strange within the known. Yet the forgotten testimonies remain. Pilots flying over desert bases have described lights pacing their planes, keeping speed, then disappearing without trace. Ranchers have spoken of hovering glows that lit up their fields like lanterns. Even indigenous traditions in some desert cultures remember mysterious sky fires woven into stories of spirits and visitors. What connects them all is silence. The lights speak not through sound, but through presence, through a wordless insistence that something unusual has occurred. As you breathe slowly, you recognize the desert as a mirror of the human mind. Just as the empty sand amplifies the presence of light, so too does a quiet mind amplify small mysteries. In silence, even the faintest spark can feel profound. Perhaps this is why desert lights linger in memory longer than other sightings. They are not drowned out by noise, not forgotten amid distraction. They arrive in a space where the observer is fully present, fully open, and therefore fully marked. You let the thought settle gently. The desert remembers. Even when human memory fades, the land carries its own record. Fossilized dunes speak of winds long gone. Rock layers hold traces of seas that no longer exist. And so, too, the desert sky holds its rare performances, etched into the vast stillness like notes in an ancient score. Your body grows heavier, your breathing deeper, as you drift in the rhythm of this endless desert night. The lights have come and gone, but the memory remains suspended, like dust glowing in a shaft of moonlight. And just as the desert is bound to the sea through ancient history, your thoughts now begin to flow toward the water's edge, where sailors once spoke of strange beacons glimmering in the mist. The sea at night is a world of its own. You hear it first as a slow, steady breathing, waves drawing in, waves letting go. Salt fills the air, and the horizon becomes invisible, blending water and sky into one endless field of darkness. In such vastness, even a single point of light becomes extraordinary. Mariners knew this truth better than anyone, for their lives depended on recognizing what belonged in the night sky and what did not. You imagine yourself on a wooden deck, the ship rocking gently beneath your feet. Above, the stars glitter as companions, guiding navigation as they have for centuries. The North Star steadies direction. Constellations chart positions, yet on some nights, sailors whispered of lights that seemed to hover just above the water, moving not with the stars, but with their own strange rhythm. Lights that flickered like beacons, rising and sinking in the mist, vanishing without sound. The ocean, like the desert, sharpens perception. With no city lamps, no distractions, the smallest anomaly takes on weight. Sailors often reported sea lights, orbs of radiance that appeared near the horizon. Some believed them to be lanterns from distant ships, distorted by fog. Others thought they were atmospheric tricks, reflections of starlight or lightning traveling across high clouds. But some accounts resisted these explanations. Witnesses spoke of lights that followed ships, hovering just out of reach, before disappearing as though swallowed by the sea itself. Science offers clues. Water vapor, when heavy in the air, can bend light in unusual ways. This bending is called refraction. Just as a straw looks broken when placed in a glass of water, so too can distant lights appear in the wrong place when refracted by moist air. Sometimes these distortions create what are known as mirages at sea, lifting distant objects into view where none should be. A faraway ship might seem to float in midair. A coastal lantern could appear like a hovering orb on the horizon. These illusions are rare but real, sculpted by the ocean's layers of temperature and moisture. Yet again, there are the reports that remain. Long before radio and radar, sailors depended on eyesight and memory. In logs and journals, they sometimes wrote of lights that moved against the expected path or appeared where no ship or land could be. These stories linger like barnacles on the hull of history, small, rough, and resistant to removal. Each one is a human attempt to make sense of the unknown. As you let your breath slow, you picture the ocean itself as alive, full of silent luminescence. In fact, the sea truly does glow. Bioluminescent plankton, microscopic organisms, can light up when disturbed, sparkling like stars beneath the waves. Whole bays can shimmer when fish or boats move through them, leaving trails of glowing blue. To a sailor centuries ago, unaware of the biology, such light might feel otherworldly. Imagine standing at the railing and seeing the water blaze with silent fire, every ripple shining with cold light. Would you not wonder if the sea itself was sending signals? The beacons sailors described may also have roots in the sky above the sea. Meteors streaking low across the horizon can look like hovering orbs, glowing briefly before fading. Electrical storms beyond the line of sight can illuminate clouds in sudden bursts. Even auroras, though rare in lower latitudes, sometimes paint the horizon with sheets of shifting color. Each phenomenon is natural, yet experienced in the vast emptiness of the ocean, they become profound, almost personal. Your mind drifts further, imagining how sailors shared these stories. Around lanterns on deck, in whispered voices before sleep, they passed down accounts of lights that defied explanation. Some spoke of omens, signs of fortune or disaster. Others treated them with quiet reverence, part of the sea's endless mystery. For them, the ocean was not only a route of travel, but a place of encounter where human senses touched something larger, more elusive. Science today can reconstruct many of these moments, but the poetry of the memory remains. What matters is not only the physical cause of the lights, but the effect they had on those who saw them. Hearts quickened, minds searched, stories formed. The human brain, so tuned to seek order, could not help but wonder if these lights carried meaning, if they were beacons from something beyond. You let the rhythm of the sea settle into your breathing. Waves rise, waves fall. The beacons flicker in your imagination, then dissolve into mist. What remains is the feeling, the same feeling that guided sailors to look beyond the edge of their maps, to trust curiosity as much as caution. The sea holds its secrets, just as the desert holds its silences. But you sense the narrative is not finished, for beyond the villages, far from coasts and decks, communities have also looked upward in fear and wonder. Their stories, too, are fragile lights, waiting to be remembered. Far from cities where the nights remain truly dark, small villages live closer to the sky. There, the stars shine not as background decoration, but as companions woven into the rhythm of daily life. Farmers rise with the dawn and sleep with the moon. Children learn constellations as naturally as they learn paths between fields. And in these villages, untouched by electric light, the sudden appearance of something unusual in the sky becomes unforgettable. You imagine a cluster of wooden homes, their windows faintly glowing with firelight. Outside, the village is quiet except for the sound of insects and the occasional dog barking. In such silence, every villager knows the sky's ordinary behavior. They know how the moon slides slowly over rooftops, how Venus brightens near dusk, how meteors streak quickly before fading. And so, when something unfamiliar appears, when a light lingers too long or moves against expectation, it becomes the subject of hushed conversation that lasts for years. Anthropologists studying oral traditions often discover stories of the sky woven into culture. In rural communities, unusual lights were sometimes explained as spirits, ancestors, or signs from the divine. Without telescopes or radios, these explanations arose from what was available: memory, myth, and meaning. Yet behind the poetry of the tale often lies a careful observation of natural events. A fireball meteor may become a story of fiery visitors. The glow of swamp gas may become a tale of wandering lanterns. What science now names and classifies, villages once experienced as mystery, alive with emotion. Your breathing slows as you reflect on the psychology of these moments. Neuroscience shows that fear and wonder often arise together when encountering the unknown. The amygdala, the brain's center for detecting threats, activates quickly at sudden or unusual sights. At the same time, the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that seeks understanding, leans forward, grasping for explanation. The result is a blend of trembling and fascination, the very mixture villagers felt when looking upward at strange lights in the sky. Consider how fragile these stories are. In remote places, history is not always written, but carried in memory, passed from elder to child. Around fire circles, villagers repeated accounts of lights that hovered over fields, or glowing shapes that moved silently above the trees. Each telling was like a candle flame, easily extinguished if the story was forgotten, but lasting if tended carefully. Over time, the details shifted, the edges blurred, but the essence remained. Something happened that could not be explained. Science, when it enters such villages, often brings new lenses. Astronomers show star charts, physicists explain atmospheric phenomena, meteorologists describe the behavior of lightning or auroras. These explanations add understanding but do not erase the memory. Instead, they live side by side, the scientific and the poetic, both shaping how the event is remembered. The story of the strange light becomes a bridge between knowledge and mystery. As you sink deeper into the calm rhythm, you imagine yourself sitting among such villagers. The night stretches above, wide and endless. The fire crackles softly, and an elder begins to speak. Their voice carries the memory of a night when the sky changed, when children ran inside and animals grew restless. They describe a light hovering low, pulsing without sound, then vanishing as quickly as it appeared. Their words, spoken slowly, carry both fear and reverence. You feel yourself leaning closer, drawn into the circle of shared wonder. Modern science has names for many such experiences. Ball lightning, though rare, can appear near the ground, glowing and floating before disappearing. Aurora borealis, in higher latitudes, can ripple unexpectedly across the sky, painting villages in color. Meteors, when large enough, can turn night into day for a moment. Each explanation grounds the story in physical law. Yet none of these diminish the emotional truth that to those villagers, in that moment, the world felt touched by something beyond comprehension. Your body grows heavier, lulled by the slow balance of explanation and mystery. The villagers' stories remind you that science is not only about answers, but about questions preserved long enough to inspire investigation. Without witnesses, without people willing to look upward and remember, the rarest phenomena might vanish unrecorded. In this way, even fragile testimonies become part of science's foundation. You close your eyes, hearing again the whisper of the elder by the fire. Their story drifts into silence, carried away on the night air. The villagers fall quiet, their gazes turned upward, still searching for lights that may or may not return. And as the firelight fades, you feel a shift, a sense of movement away from stories told by villagers and into those recorded by scientists who listen not with fear, but with instruments tuned to catch signals hidden in the silence. In every age, there are those who choose to listen. While villagers gathered around fires and sailors watched horizons, scientists bent over instruments, searching not with eyes, but with ears. Theirs was a listening deeper than ordinary sound, tuned to vibrations and frequencies the human ear could never detect. In quiet laboratories, far from the hum of cities, machines recorded whispers from the air itself, signals invisible, yet filled with possibility. You picture the room, dimly lit, filled with the faint glow of tubes and dials. A radio crackles. At first, it is nothing more than static, a soft hissing like wind through leaves. But then comes a pause, a rhythm, a pattern out of place. The scientists lean closer, headphones pressed tight, pens poised above paper. They ask the same question you now carry. What is this? Is it merely noise, or is it a message? The history of science is filled with such moments. In 1932, Karl Jansky, an engineer studying static for radio communications, discovered that some of the interference came from the center of the Milky Way. What he heard was the birth of radio astronomy, the realization that the universe speaks in frequencies beyond light. Later, in 1967, Jocelyn Bell Burnell detected a series of regular pulses in her radio telescope. The signal was so precise, so unbroken, that she nicknamed it LGM, Little Green Men, before identifying it as a pulsar, the collapsed core of a dying star, spinning with clockwork precision. Your breath softens as you let these discoveries unfold like a story. What matters is not only the answers scientists found, but the patience it required to hear the unknown. The universe is full of signals, most of them faint, most of them hidden within noise. To detect them requires stillness, long observation, and a willingness to treat even static as meaningful. In this way, the work of scientists mirrors the calm you feel now, slowing down, listening deeply, noticing what others might overlook. Some of the signals, of course, came from Earth. Military transmissions, satellites, even distant radar echoes, all these could appear suddenly in the quiet of a laboratory. Yet sometimes the interruptions did not match the known. Faint bursts, sudden pulses, a hum repeating without clear origin. Each anomaly became a point of fascination, a spark for the imagination. Was it an atmospheric event, a solar flare, or could it be something more? Neuroscience helps you understand why these moments felt so profound. The brain is a pattern-seeking organ. Even in randomness, it searches for structure. When scientists heard unexpected rhythms in their machines, their minds reached for order, for meaning. This is the same impulse that helps you recognize a friend's voice in a noisy crowd, or a familiar melody in the midst of static. It is also the impulse that allows science to grow, because in searching for patterns, we uncover truths hidden in chaos. Radio telescopes became the ears of humanity. They extended perception beyond what eyes could see, tuning into waves of energy emitted by galaxies, nebulae, and the sun itself. Through these instruments, scientists discovered that the universe is not silent, but filled with a constant hum, a cosmic background echo left over from the Big Bang. That faint signal, so weak it might be mistaken for noise, became proof of the universe's birth, carried across billions of years to reach the present. Your body relaxes as you consider the patience required. Hours, nights, entire lifetimes dedicated to listening. The crackle of static, the faint hum of machines, all serving as companions in the search. Some scientists even allowed themselves to wonder if natural signals can be so strange. How would we recognize an artificial one? Could another civilization, somewhere beyond the stars, be sending a pulse, a rhythm, waiting for someone to listen? In 1977, one such pulse was recorded, the famous "wow" signal, a burst of radio energy, strong and unusual, detected by an Ohio State University telescope. It lasted for 72 seconds, then vanished, never to return. Was it a satellite, a reflection, or something else entirely? No answer was found, but the signal became legend. a reminder that the line between noise and meaning is often thin and that wonder survives even without resolution. You let the thought settle. Listening is as important as seeing. The desert shows its mysteries to the eye. The sea whispers to the horizon. Villages pass down what they saw, but scientists, with their instruments tuned to silence, reveal the universe as a choir of invisible voices, each one a thread woven into the fabric of knowledge, waiting for those patient enough to hear. Your breathing slows, your body heavier now, as if you too are listening with the whole of yourself. The signals fade, leaving behind a sense of quiet awe. You rest in the awareness that even static holds meaning, even silence hides echoes. And as the last hum fades from the machine, you feel a question rise gently, leading you onward. What happens when silence itself becomes the final whisper between memory and meaning? Silence is not the absence of sound. It is a space, a pause, a breath between one note and the next. As you sink into it now, you realize that silence holds more than emptiness. It holds memory. Every forgotten sighting, every unexplained signal, every testimony whispered in firelight rests here, waiting. The human mind does not easily let go of mystery. It lingers, returning again and again, searching for meaning in the quiet. You imagine the vast sky as a canvas of both sound and stillness. Astronomers map the visible stars. Physicists measure radiation. Biologists trace patterns of life. Yet beyond all this, silence remains. The unrecorded, the unmeasured, the things that escape notice. Silence becomes the boundary between knowledge and imagination. When science cannot yet explain, silence takes its place, not as failure, but as invitation. Memory drifts through silence like a soft current. Think of your own recollections, how certain nights return vividly, while others vanish completely. Neuroscience shows that memory is selective, shaped not only by what you saw, but by how it felt. Fear strengthens memory, as does wonder. That is why villagers remembered glowing orbs for decades, why sailors told stories of beacons at sea, why scientists marked strange signals with question marks in their logs. Memory holds on to the unusual, the unresolved, because your brain understands that mystery matters. And yet, memory is fragile. Details blur, times shift, and what was once sharp becomes dreamlike. In this way, silence grows around forgotten encounters, wrapping them in uncertainty. Were the lights truly so bright? Did they hover so long? Was the signal genuine, or a trick of the machine? Each question softens the memory, and over time the event drifts into myth. But myth is not a loss. It is another way of carrying meaning, through story, through imagination, through repetition across generations. Science itself evolves in the same way. What was once unexplainable becomes ordinary with time. Lightning, once seen as a weapon of gods, is now understood as the movement of electrons through air. Comets, once omens of disaster, are recognized as icy wanderers circling the sun. Each mystery passes through stages, first wonder, then silence, then explanation. And yet, even after explanation arrives, wonder often remains. Knowledge does not erase the beauty of the unknown. It simply shifts it into new forms. Your breathing steadies as you realize that you too are part of this cycle. Each time you pause beneath the night sky, you carry the memories of those who came before. The farmer staring at a strange light in the field, the sailor watching a beacon flicker at sea, the scientist listening to a hum on the radio. Their voices blend into silence, but silence itself speaks. It tells you that not everything must be solved tonight. Not every question needs an answer before sleep. Astronomers today still listen. Vast arrays of telescopes scan the skies, searching for signals faint as whispers. They filter noise, measure patterns, and send their data across oceans to be studied. Most of what they hear is silence, yet within that silence lies possibility, the chance that one day something unexpected may emerge. Perhaps another pulsar, perhaps another cosmic background echo, or perhaps something never imagined before. Silence is not emptiness. It is potential, held gently in the dark.